there are certain things that we have to define. The industry has witnessed a shift from degree-centric hiring to skill-based hiring. How do you see this entire evaluation, inclusive of finding the best from the rest?
Sure, I would say that Padmini's point as a thing just to build upon. I think the it's not about the the levels or the bars having fallen being negative. I think it is a necessary shift which the industry has adopted to, considering the kind of business opportunities which are coming our way, and I think we know about it as a part of the the overall last 2-3 years, especially in the pandemic thing which has happened. There is very clearly a demand for set of people. I think Rinku alluded to it by talking about attitude and analytical skills, or in terms of looking at an approach which has got a domain centricity or which has got a technology centricity. So in effect, what is there? But the challenge still persists, and I would say this, that it's very difficult to assess anything in half an hour or 1 hour. I think there are classic, if I go back, and I think I'm a product of Wipro. When I say product, because when back good old days, Wipro used to be invested in a lot of things from a variety of angles. And I remember that one of the programs we used to do long time back was interviewing skills, where they were taught, and we were taught that how do you open, how do you go to the meat of the interview, and how do you close. And it was said that a best interview is a good interview, or effective interview is one which lasts for 55 minutes exactly, broken up into stages. And obviously there were studies around it. But I always say this, that as the volumes have picked up over a period of time, 30 years back, what Wipro thought was volume hiring was 10 in a month. Right now we are talking 1,000 in a month, and that too sometimes seems smaller. So obviously one needs to discern, and one needs to take a call. So if you are looking at volume hiring, interviewing as a option outside, obviously nothing can replace a judgment or a decision. And the two things which we have done, let's say in the last couple of years, is that we have defined industry-wide test, and it is nothing to do with, let's say, Coforge as an entity. We say that if you are good at ABC, generic thing, you are good for us, number one. Number two, is there a culture element involved, cultural element or a thing involved? We probably say no, and but we substitute it by saying that I'm looking for, let's say, for a company like where we are, what our size and our ambition, that we are very, very focused on aggressive hyper growth. So we are just looking at those as a defining element. There's no cultural attribute here. The last part of it is that we do tend to tell our interviewers that go ahead, you'll make your mistakes. We'll probably live with a 5 to 10% mistake level. And what do we do with that after that is not that we are going to penalize you. We are just going to be clear that we'll either do upskill, reskill. Worst case, obviously, after the number of opportunities given, we can exit out a person wherever it is. But I think the moot point, again, if I look at as to what the assessment can be, I would go back and say that it's a generic knowledge of technology supplemented by something which is unique to you. If you're working for 5 years in a banking account, do you know something about banking as an ecosystem? So I think that's an example. And the last bit of it is that, like I said, it is more personal to, let's say, Coforge, that we are looking for people who can be a part of a hyper aggressive growth, which basically means probably working a little bit extra hours, which is a part of the role and part of the job, and be ready to stretch beyond a point. So very subjective in the end, but yes, those things define us. Sukriti.